What if I told you that Egyptian priestesses possessed technologies so advanced that modern science is only now beginning to understand them? Technologies that could alter consciousness, access other dimensions, and activate dormant abilities within the human body, all without a single electronic device. Today, we're uncovering 5 forbidden technologies used by Egyptian priestesses that were systematically hidden from history. And yes, I'll show you exactly how to use them yourself. But first, a warning. What you're about to learn was kept secret for over 4,000 years for a reason. Some of these techniques are so powerful, they were reserved only for pharaohs and the highest initiates. Welcome to Conchiera. On this channel, we explore the hidden connections between ancient wisdom and modern consciousness. Today's journey takes us deep into the temples of ancient Egypt, where priestesses, not priests, but priestesses, held the keys to technologies that would make our modern meditation apps look like children's toys. Now, when I say technologies, I'm not talking about machines or gadgets. I'm talking about precise methodologies, systematic approaches to consciousness that were as scientific to the Egyptians as any laboratory procedure is to us today. What makes this particularly fascinating is that recent archaeological discoveries and neuroscience research are validating what these priestesses knew millennia ago. We're talking about peer-reviewed studies from institutions like Stanford and MIT that are essentially rediscovering ancient Egyptian consciousness tech. But here's what's been hidden. The priestesses didn't use just one technique. They combined multiple technologies in specific sequences, what we might call consciousness protocols today. And that's exactly what I'm going to reveal. Technology number 1, sound frequency activation. Let's start with perhaps the most powerful technology, sacred sound frequency. The Egyptian priestesses understood something that quantum physicists are just now proving, that reality itself is made of vibration, and they had a tool called the sistrum, a sacred rattle that looks deceptively simple but contains profound secrets. The science behind it. In 2018, archaeoacoustic researchers from the University of Malta studied the sound properties inside Egyptian temples. What they found was mind-blowing. These temples were deliberately constructed to resonate at specific frequencies, particularly around 110 to 111 hertz. Why is this significant? Neuroscientists have discovered that 110 hertz specifically affects the language centers of the brain, shifting activity from the left hemisphere to the right. In other words, it moves you from analytical thinking to intuitive, visionary states. The priestess method. The priestesses would use the sistrum in combination with vowel chanting, but not random vowels, specific sequences that corresponded to different energy centers in the body. Here's a technique you can try right now. The sequence was I-E-A-O-U, pronounced E-I-A-O-U. Each vowel was held for exactly 7 beats. The entire sequence was repeated 5 times. But here's the secret part that's rarely discussed. The priestesses would perform this while holding specific hand positions, mudras that directed the sound energy. Note, while I'm sharing historical practices, any effects you experience are subjective. This isn't medical advice. The Heka, words of power. Beyond vowel sounds, Egyptian priestesses used Heka, words of power. Now, mainstream Egyptologists translate Heka simply as magic, but that's missing the point. Carl Jung, who studied Egyptian practices extensively, noted that Heka was actually about the vibrational quality of specific word combinations. It's the same principle behind Sanskrit mantras or Hebrew Kabbalah. Certain sound combinations create specific energetic effects. The priestesses had Heka for opening interdimensional portals. Seriously, it's in the pyramid texts. Healing specific organs, communicating with non-physical beings, protecting sacred spaces. Modern connection. What the priestesses were doing is remarkably similar to what we now call binaural beats or isochronic tones. The difference? They were creating these effects acoustically in real time, using the temple architecture itself as an amplifier. Dr. Robert Monroe's gateway experience, used by the CIA for consciousness research, employs similar frequency principles. Coincidence? I'll let you decide. Technology number 2, sacred oil alchemy. The second technology might be the most immediately practical, sacred oil alchemy. Egyptian priestesses were master chemists, but their chemistry went beyond the physical. They understood that certain plant essences could unlock specific states of consciousness when applied to precise points on the body. The Blue Lotus secret. The blue lotus wasn't just a pretty flower to the Egyptians, it was a consciousness technology. Recent chemical analysis by the University of Manchester found that blue lotus contains aporphine and nuciferine, compounds that affect dopamine and serotonin receptors. But here's what the research papers don't tell you. The priestesses didn't just consume blue lotus. They created a specific extraction process that concentrated these compounds and combined them with other ingredients for targeted effects. The lost recipe of Kifi. Kifi was the most sacred incense blend in Egypt, containing 16 specific ingredients. Plutarch wrote that it could induce prophetic dreams and visions. But what ingredients, and in what proportions? Through comparing multiple ancient sources, the Ebers Papyrus, temple inscriptions at Edfu, and Greco-Roman accounts, here's what we know was included. Frankincense, pineal activation, myrrh, grounding and protection, cinnamon, crown chakra opening, honey, preservation and binding, wine, extraction medium, raisins, natural sugars for fermentation, juniper berries, third eye activation. Note, I'm sharing this for historical interest. Always research safety before using any herbs or oils. The secret application points. This is where it gets really interesting. The priestesses didn't just burn these oils or apply them randomly. They had a specific body mapping system, similar to Chinese acupuncture, but predating it by centuries. They identified 7 primary application points: the temples, telepathic communication; third eye, inner vision; behind the ears, clairaudience; throat hollow, speaking truth, channeling; heart center, emotional alchemy; solar plexus, personal power; base of spine, kundalini activation. Rudolf Steiner, who had access to mystery school teachings, confirmed these same points in his lectures on ancient initiation practices. The modern science. In 2019, Johns Hopkins published research on how olfactory receptors directly connect to the limbic system and can trigger altered states. The Egyptian priestesses understood this connection 4,000 years ago. What's even more fascinating, MIT researchers found that certain aromatic compounds can cross the blood-brain barrier and directly affect neurotransmitter production. The priestesses' oil blends were literally designed as consciousness chemistry sets. Technology number 3, mirror and water scrying. The third technology taps into something neuroscientists call the strange face illusion, but the priestesses knew it as the gateway to the duat, the spiritual realm. The Hathor mirror. Mystery. Priestesses of Hathor used polished copper mirrors, not for vanity, but for interdimensional communication. These weren't ordinary mirrors. They were crafted with specific curvatures and polished with sacred oils that created particular reflective properties. Dr. Giovanni Caputo's research at the University of Urbino found that mirror gazing in low light for just 10 minutes can induce powerful altered states. Participants reported seeing archetypal faces, deceased relatives, non-human entities, their higher self. Sound familiar? These are exactly what Egyptian texts describe priestesses experiencing during mirror scrying. The water bowl technique. But here's a technique that's been completely overlooked by mainstream Egyptology. Priestesses would use black granite bowls filled with water and a thin layer of olive oil. Why? The oil creates a perfect reflective surface that slightly distorts the image, similar to what modern researchers call the Ganzfeld effect. This gentle visual distortion, combined with flickering candlelight, creates optimal conditions for accessing the subconscious, receiving prophetic visions, communicating with other dimensions. At temples like Dendera, there were sacred pools specifically designed for scrying. But these weren't just any pools. Recent ground-penetrating radar has revealed that these pools were positioned over specific geological features, usually underground water sources or quartz deposits. Why does this matter? Nikola Tesla wrote extensively about how moving water over crystalline rocks generates piezoelectric fields. The priestesses were literally using natural electromagnetic phenomena to enhance their scrying abilities. The technique you can try. Here's a simplified version of the priestess scrying method. Use a dark bowl filled with water. Add a few drops of olive oil. Place a single candle behind you, never in front. Gaze at the water surface, not your reflection. Breathe in a 4-4-4-4 pattern. Continue for 10 to 20 minutes. Remember, this is shared for educational purposes about historical practices. Here's something interesting. In 1486, the Catholic Church specifically banned crystallomancy and hydromancy, crystal and water gazing. Why would they ban something that supposedly doesn't work? The answer might lie in the Vatican's secret archives, which contain confiscated Egyptian texts on scrying. We know this because in 2019, when Pope Francis partially opened the archives, researchers found references to Egyptian divination methods that were deemed too dangerous for public knowledge. Technology number 4, Dream Temple. Technology. The fourth technology is perhaps the most scientifically validated, Dream Temple technology. Egyptian priestesses operated what were essentially consciousness laboratories disguised as temples. The most famous were the sleep temples of Isis at Philae and Imhotep at Saqqara. The Dream Incubation Protocol. Priestesses developed a systematic approach to what we now call lucid dreaming and astral projection, but their method was far more sophisticated than modern techniques. The protocol included purification phase, 3 days of specific diet, sensory preparation, specific sounds and scents, geometric sleeping positions, dream herb preparations, morning integration rituals, the science of sacred sleep. In 2020, researchers at Northwestern University discovered that playing specific sounds during REM sleep can enhance memory and trigger lucid dreams. The Egyptian priestesses used singing bowls and specific chants during the dreamer's sleep cycles, 4,000 years before we understood REM phases. But here's the really mind-blowing part. The priestesses could somehow synchronize their dream states. Multiple accounts describe priestesses entering the same dream space to receive collective visions. Modern research on shared dreaming at the Institute of Noetic Sciences is finding evidence that this might actually be possible through quantum entanglement at the neural level. The false door meditation. This is a technique that's been completely misunderstood by mainstream Egyptology. The false doors in temples weren't architectural mistakes, they were consciousness tools. Priestesses would meditate facing these doors, using them as focal points for what they called projection of the Ka, the energetic double. This is essentially identical to what Robert Monroe later developed as the rolling out technique for astral projection, dream herbs of the priestesses. Through analysis of residues found in temple sleeping chambers, we know priestesses used blue lotus, again, it was their go-to, mandrake root in tiny amounts, Syrian rue contains natural MAO inhibitors, acacia, DMT-containing species. Crucial note, some of these plants can be dangerous. I'm sharing this for historical context only, not as recommendations. The modern connection. Dr. Stanley Krippner's research on dream telepathy at the Maimonides Medical Center confirmed what the priestesses knew. Consciousness during dream states can transcend normal space-time limitations. Even more interesting, the Monroe Institute's Gateway experience uses audio frequencies to induce the same states the priestesses achieved in dream temples. They're literally rediscovering ancient Egyptian tech. Technology number 5, energy light body activation. The fifth and most advanced technology deals with what the priestesses called Sahu, the immortal light body, the Ankh breathing method. The Ankh wasn't just a symbol, it was a breathing pattern. Priestesses understood that specific breathing rhythms could activate what we now call the meridian system. Here's the actual technique. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts, the vertical line. Hold for 4 counts, the loop. Exhale through the mouth for 4 counts, horizontal line. Hold empty for 4 counts, completing the circuit. But here's the advanced part they don't tell you. While doing this, priestesses would visualize golden light flowing through the Ankh pattern in their body with the loop at the heart center. The opening of the mouth ceremony. Egyptologists think this was just a funeral ritual. Wrong. It was an energy activation technology used on living initiates. Using specific tools and touches on energy points, priestesses could activate what Indian traditions call chakras and Chinese medicine calls dantians. But the Egyptian system was unique. They worked with 13 energy centers, not 7. Recent biofield imaging at the University of Arizona has shown that these exact points correspond to areas of high electromagnetic activity in the human body. Crystal placement protocols. The priestesses used specific stones on specific body points. Lapis lazuli on the third eye, pineal activation. Carnelian on the sacral center, creative sexual energy. Clear quartz on the crown, cosmic connection. Black tourmaline at the feet, grounding. Rose quartz at the heart, emotional alchemy. But placement was only part of it. They used specific activation words, Heka, for each stone and performed the placements during particular planetary alignments. The pyramid position practice. Inside the Great Pyramid, there are specific spots where initiates would lie to receive energy transmissions. The priestesses mapped out exact body positions that aligned with the pyramid's geometric properties. Dr. Konstantin Korotkov's GDV camera research has shown that pyramid structures do create measurable effects on the human biofield. The priestesses knew exactly how to position the body to maximize these effects. Solar gazing protocols. This is controversial, but historical records are clear. Priestesses practiced controlled solar gazing, not staring at the midday sun, that's dangerous, but specific protocols during the golden hours. They would gaze during the first 30 minutes of sunrise, use specific eye movements, similar to EMDR, combine with mudras and mantras, never exceed their trained time limits. Modern research on vitamin D, pineal activation, and circadian rhythms suggests they were onto something, though I must emphasize, don't try this without proper guidance. Here's the secret that ties it all together. The priestesses never used these technologies in isolation. They combined them in specific sequences based on cosmic cycles. The 5-day transformation protocol. Day 1, sound frequency activation, preparing the field. Day 2, sacred oil application, opening the channels. Day 3, mirror water scrying, receiving the vision. Day 4, dream temple work, integrating the wisdom. Day 5, light body activation, embodying the transformation. The modern scientific validation. In 2023, researchers at the Institute of Heart Math showed that combining multiple consciousness practices creates a stacking effect. Each practice amplifies the others. The priestesses understood this synergy millennia ago. Dr. Dean Radin's research at IONS has demonstrated that consciousness can affect physical reality at the quantum level. The priestesses' technologies were designed to maximize this effect. What this means for you, you don't need to be in ancient Egypt to use these technologies. The principles are universal. Sound affects consciousness. Use frequencies. Scent bypasses the conscious mind. Try essential oils. Mirrors, water create liminal states. Practice gazing. Dreams are programmable. Keep a journal. Your energy body is real. Explore energy work. What we've covered today barely scratches the surface. The Egyptian priestesses held knowledge that we're only beginning to rediscover. But here's what's important. This isn't just ancient history. These are practical technologies you can explore yourself. Start with one technique, master it, then add others. Remember, the priestesses spent years training in these arts. Be patient with yourself. What matters isn't perfection, it's practice. The real secret? The priestesses knew that consciousness itself is the ultimate technology. Everything else, The sounds, oils, mirrors, dreams, and energy work. These are just tools to unlock what's already within you. If this video resonated with you, you might be carrying priestess codes in your own consciousness. These memories often surface when we're ready to remember. I'd love to hear about your experiences with these techniques in the comments. Which technology calls to you most strongly? And if you want to go deeper, I'll be sharing a guided practice combining all 5 technologies in next week's video. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss it. Until then, remember, you carry the same divine spark the priestess is honored. Their technologies are your birthright. Walk in beauty, walk in power, walk in truth.